Hello everyone, this video is going to be a bit different from the others as it's not a deep analysis of a character or what they represent in the series, but as the title states, it's a ranking of the Titan shifters we know all too well, and some we don't know enough of. Also, there will be spoilers as I use feats from the manga portion that hasn't been adapted yet, so if you don't want to be spoiled, especially near the end, then here's your chance to click off the video. This ranking video is going to be based on qualities such as smarts, the way shifters use their abilities, fighting potential, and ability, and overall competence, in and outside the Titan forms. If it were a list based on just the Titans they possess, then it would be pretty cut and dry and very predictable. The reason this list is being made this way is because there are shifters who have extremely powerful Titans that have lost to other shifters with weaker Titans. For example, Grisha beating Frieda even though her Titan is literally God, and I believe it just makes more sense to make it this way overall. Basing everything off of these qualities, the first few entries should be no-brainers, and the further we go, the more complex and arguable it's definitely going to get, for sure, as you can make a lot of good arguments for these guys in their overall placements. Also, make sure you guys subscribe, hit that like button, and leave a comment to let me know if you agree with the list or not. And without any further distractions, let's get to the topic of the video. So at the very bottom of the list, it should be a no-brainer. Ksaver, with as intelligent as he was, being a brilliant researcher and able to find a loophole to the Bauer-Nansen War, he, by his own admission, stated his Titan wasn't very useful in combat, and since we've never actually seen him in combat, I believe this to be true. We've never gotten a chance to see his Beast Titan in action, so unfortunately we have no feats to go off of. So at the very bottom of the list he goes, sorry Beast Boy, at least you gave the Wonder Boy Zeke a good childhood. Next up on the list, we have Rod and Uri's father. He was an inheritor of the founding Titan, but we literally have no piece of him whatsoever, so he's placed here. Sorry, King. Next up, we have Marley's best boy, Falco Grice. Falco is another case of not having any experience, and pretty much just went out of control in Berserker mode against Flock, and even that wasn't enough to stop him. It did take several people to stop Falco's rampage, but they weren't trying to hurt him, and only tried to free him from his Titan. I'm sure if he had more time to train and hone that power, he would become a formidable shifter, especially with how intelligent he is, along with training from Marley in their warrior program, but since we have no evidence or feats, he'll remain here on the list. Next up on the list, we unfortunately have Frieda Reese. Frieda Reese, as I mentioned before, wielded the most powerful Titan, the founding Titan, but with her lack of fighting ability and experience in the Bauer-Nansen War, she was easily defeated and eaten by Grisha Jaeger, who wielded the attack Titan at the time. This one should have been seen coming, and with as much as I like Frieda as a character, she was just nowhere near up to par with someone who not only wields a Titan, but the founding Titan, as we've seen what it was capable of doing with the full power not being held back. Next up on the list, we have Marcel Galliard. Marcel is noted to be sharp, quick-witted, and a leader. He was shown taking down an enemy nation along with his fellow warriors, and ultimately ended up the chosen leader for the mission of retrieving the founding Titan on Para D. Unfortunately, his life was snuffed out short as he sacrificed himself to save Reiner, who was caught off guard by Ymir's pure Titan. I would have him above our dear Ymir, but for someone with military training, I truly believe he should have been able to transform in time to save himself before being devoured. So even with all the acknowledgements and his intelligence, he sort of dropped the ball here and ended up as one of Attack on Titan's characters whose lives ended way too short, but I do believe his placement would have been much higher had he survived his encounter, as we could have gotten to see more of him and his use of the Jaw Titan. Based on the last entry, the next should be fairly obvious. It's clearly our dear Ymir. With her gaining Marcel's Jaw Titan, she was shown to use it very effectively, saving Historia and Dash from a blizzard that would have killed them had she not transformed, and saving her fellow scouts from a horde of Titans that left her on the brink of death, which she was able to come back from, showing her strong will to live. She was able to maneuver very well within the forest, showing how familiar she was with the power she possessed. I honestly think Ymir and Marcel are interchangeable here, just based on the fact Marcel is indeed shown taking down an entire country with his fellow warriors, but we don't know how advanced that country was, or whether or not they had anti-Titan artillery. It's unlikely that they did, based on the fact that Reiner was able to block the ammo used against him here, with no effort, and Annie was shown free running around. So it's likely the country they took down wasn't all too impressive, and I personally think fighting something that can actually harm you, for example, Ymir versus the Titans, is a much better feat, and she wasn't military trained to use a Titan like Marcel was. But an argument could be made that Marcel himself wasn't trained to go against a Titan, and he himself was just a child. This is sort of a contentious one, but ultimately, I have to give it to our dear Ymir. The next entry on the list is probably contentious as well, but I have to put Uri Reese here. As we know, Uri wields the founding Titan, but is limited in ability due to the Bauer-Nansen War. He was able to defeat Kenny Ackerman. The name, and especially last name alone, should tell you that he is no joke. I mean, we've all seen him in action countless times. He's killed many MP officers, and was able to survive a skirmish against Levi and the rest of the scouts. And I can only think Kenny was stronger back then when he fought Uri because of his younger age. Uri was so agile, even in his feeble state, that he was able to block a dagger Kenny threw at an incredible speed. With these feats, I feel like this is a good place for him here. The next entry on our list is going to none other than the man who gave our protagonist's father the attack Titan that initially started this story, and whose name will be used for the main character's namesake, Eren Kruger. Eren Kruger was the earliest wielder of the attack Titan that we know of, When he arrived at Paradis Island, he taught Grisha how to transform into a Titan and had taken down a Marleyan steamboat and wiped out the remaining soldiers that arrived with him. Krueger was undercover for years as an ally of the Elden Restorationists and was able to pass by as a member of the Marleyan military with the help of a doctor who helped him fake his blood test, and he eventually made it to the point of giving Grisha the Attack Titan. This shows his cunning and calculating nature, and I believe this placement right here fits him. Next up on our list should be no surprise. It goes to the protagonist's father himself, Grisha Jaeger. Grisha from a very young age had the drive to fight against his cruel world, and this resolve will only be strengthened with the death of his sister, Frieda Jaeger, especially when finding out the truth of her death thanks to Grice, which eventually led him to joining the Elden Restorationists. When Grisha inherited the Attack Titan from Krueger, he was able to successfully infiltrate the walls of Paradis. The first noteworthy feat to mention is he was able to traverse across a large island all the way to the walls without horseback assistance, and without being harmed or eaten by roaming pure Titans. After successfully being able to talk his way into entering the walls by fooling Keith, and once settled in, was eventually able to get close to high up individuals, find the true royal bloodline and take the founding Titan, and also take out the remaining members of the royal family, aside from Uri Reese. Granted, as Uri Reese said, Frieda wasn't experienced with her Titan, but it's shown she had the capabilities to manipulate memories, as she was shown erasing the memories of Historia. The fact that he was able to beat someone with the strongest Titan, especially with an ability that wasn't hindered by the Valrenarcine War, goes to show the strength of Grisha Jaeger, or maybe it shows some inexperience of Frieda. Either way, he beat the founding Titan, and with everything it took to get to that point, especially finding a chapel within such a short time span, although he does go for the Titan later, it goes to show Grisha's aptitude when it came to infiltration, and his intelligence in general. Also, it's fair to mention after this point, he was never caught nor suspected to have anything to do with the tragedy that befell the Reese family, as he makes his way back to his son, Eren Jaeger, where he will later pass on the Attack Titan and find the Titan to him. I feel like this is where the list is about to get really opinionated among the majority of people, because this is pretty much about to be the main heavy hitters among the shifters, and if you disagree, please let me know and why, but I feel like this is nothing but facts. It's also important to keep in mind that this list isn't based solely on power of the Titans that are in possession of these individuals, but we also have to keep in mind what sort of character they are among many other things. For example, how willing are they to use their power? How smart and analytical can they be given the situation they find themselves in? So with me saying that, the next entry on this list is Armin Arlet. Armin is truly one of the smartest characters and one of the best analytical minds in the show, and he wields the Colossal Titan. The Colossal Titan is referred to as a god of destruction, but Armin doesn't use it to its full potential at all. And the best feat he has, which is no small feat mind you, is destroying Marley's port. And the only reason he did that in the first place was because he was pretty much forced to, due to the actions of Eren and the founding Titan being at risk of being stolen if he acted alone. Unfortunately, with Armin's near passive nature, he barely ever uses this power. He isn't as ruthless as most other shifters, and that's not a bad thing, but for the sake of this list and his contemporaries, this is where he'll be placed. The next spot on this list goes to none other than my favorite character, Reiner Braun. Reiner is the only known wielder of the Armored Titan, and while he is impressive in his own right, I believe he is the least skilled of the warriors, and I would have put Marcel above him had he not died so early on, as I'm sure Marcel would have matured and been able to wield the Jaw Titan to a very impressive degree. Now, I know a lot of people will put Reiner above Bertholdt because he outlives him, but Reiner survives due to pure luck, and would have been killed by Hanji had she not been caught off guard by Zeke and Pieck. His life would have ended the same day as Bertholdt for sure, as he was utterly defeated. Bertholdt has all around better feats than Reiner, in and out of his Titan form, but it doesn't mean Reiner hasn't done notable things. Reiner was seen being able to block tons of damage in a mission of him and his fellow warriors taking down an entire country, but as I said before, it's very unlikely that the artillery used was anti-Titan. As we've seen when Reiner tried blocking anti-Titan artillery, he was torn apart, armor and all. Still, taking down an entire country is no small feat. He was shown crashing through the gate of Shiganshina and being able to withstand everything that was thrown at him. He was also able to beat Eren for a while, although at this point, Eren wasn't the most skilled with his Titan, and once Eren was able to focus and use some of the moves Annie taught him, he became overwhelmed almost immediately. And every time he fought Eren after that, he lost a 1v1. Also, while fighting Eren with the help of Galliard in the Marleyan military, he still gets defeated. But it's also fair to add that Eren had the power of the Warhammer Titan, which is overpowered. He does well against the Jaegerists along with Annie, because he's pretty familiar with Thunder Spears, but it eventually does him little good as he's ultimately brought to his knees. Before anyone brings up the fact that you think Reiner was able to land a decent punch on Eren, or think he defeated Eren in the last battle, it's clear that Eren let himself get hit so that he can trap Reiner in place and make his way towards Zeke. When it comes to his intelligence and other attributes outside of his Titan form, he wasn't the brightest, but by no means is he stupid. I can't just rag on my favorite character like that. He was shown freaking out during the test in the Marleyan warrior program training, and he wasn't physically the best either. As a matter of fact, he was definitely the least skilled among the warriors, as it was revealed that he was talked up by Marcel to be chosen as Armored Titan, as a means of protecting his brother. After Marcel's death, Reiner was shown breaking down and nearly choked the life out of Annie, and forced her and Bertholdt to continue with the mission on Paradis, even though they were handicapped. And while it looked good from the perspective of Eren, when we see it from the perspective of Reiner, it's clear it was a struggle to initiate and maintain, as they were in trouble numerous times throughout the mission. Once again, showing his planning and intelligence here just wasn't where it should have been. All in all, he should have abandoned the mission, as the Marleyan military most likely would have understood, as many people are under the assumption that he would have been stripped of his Titan. But truthfully, The fact that Marcel got eaten wasn't Reiner's fault. Everyone was caught off guard by Ymir's appearance. To not drag this portion on too much longer, you can clearly see Reiner regrets all of his decisions he's made, and he eventually ends up even speaking on it, and apologizing to Annie because of it. With as much as I love his character, Reiner just isn't top tier in terms of his capabilities as a shifter, as sad as that is to say. Next up on the list, I have Lara Tybur, the previous holder of the Warhammer Titan. Lara Tybur, with as powerful as she was, has little to no feats outside of her Titan form, outside of keeping her identity of being the inheritor of the Warhammer Titan a secret. Now as we know, the Warhammer Titan is an extremely powerful Titan, and in my opinion, is the second strongest Titan, coming second to only the Founding Titan, with his only known weakness being that the shifter isn't within the Titan itself, but is attached to his Titan from a distance, and once found, can be pretty easily detached, making the Titan nearly useless. Even then, the shifter is encased in Titan hardening, but unlike Annie's, the user is not unconscious. Now, she has incredible feats, being able to defeat Eren pretty quickly and easily. She's able to make anything out of her Titan hardening, and this should make her defensively and offensively unmatched. As a matter of fact, it took Eren and Mikasa to take her down, and even then, Eren conveniently had a nutcracker next to him that helped him break her Titan hardening, and without the Jaw Titan there, it would have been no way to get to her. Although, with all of these feats and her shows of power, I have no choice but to put her here. This is because outside of her Titan capabilities, she just doesn't compare to others in terms of her versatility and intelligence when it comes to the uses of her Titan. She's only up this high because she possesses the Warhammer Titan, and the Warhammer is overpowered. For example, after Eren ate the Warhammer Titan, it quite literally put him in a different tier of power, to the point he was able to take on Reiner and Porco simultaneously, along with their aid of Marley. And this is without training. I feel like if you give anyone else above her the power of the Warhammer, then they'd almost be unstoppable and make better use of their Titan abilities than Lara by far. Also, it's worth noting that the Tybers don't help in the war efforts, so it's safe to say Lara has some training using her abilities, or at least actual combat experience. For our next placement on this list, it goes to the previous inheritor of the Colossal Titan, Bertholdt Hoover. Bertholdt, even with his timid nature, has done far more impressive things with his Titan, such as annihilating a country off the map, kicking a hole through the walls on Paradis Island, defeating Eren, and causing massive amounts of damage in the Battle of Shiganshina, killing Moblin and Armin in the process of that battle. He was shown using his Titan in creative ways, such as dropping on Eren to defeat him, and flying up in the air to literally become an airborne bomb. He uses his steam he produces as a defensive tactic, and honestly, he's an overall better inheritor of the Colossal Titan than Armin in every way. When it comes to his intelligence and feats outside of his Titan, he is a pretty smart individual. He was able to stay undercover within the walls for years without being discovered of being a Colossal Titan, but was eventually suspected and ultimately found out due to Reiner having a mental breakdown and revealing who they were. Honestly speaking, if Bertholdt wasn't as timid as he was, I believe he could have made a good leader. Even under stress and pain, while fighting in the Battle of Shiganshina, he was able to pull himself together and really did try his best to defeat everyone, but ultimately failed due to the plan that Armin had come up with. Next up, we have Porco Galliard. Porco was a previous inheritor of the Jaw Titan, and was supposed to be chosen as the Armored Titan, if not for the interference of his brother. Porco was an extremely skilled, extremely intelligent individual, and we see his skill with the Jaw Titan is unmatched. During the Battle of Fort Slava, it was shown that Porco was able to save Reiner even with the threat of anti-Titan artillery, which he wasn't hit by, might I add, showing how well he is at maneuvering his Titan. In the Battle of Liberio, it was shown he was a moment away from eating Eren, and had it not been for the arrival of Levi, Eren would have certainly been eaten there. After, he was able to infiltrate Paradis along with Pieck, and he was able to blend in flawlessly. He was also able to transform quickly enough to almost eat Eren again, and only failed because he bit too early. While fighting Eren alongside Reiner, we once again see how well he is at maneuvering his Titan, but eventually, when caught, he was defeated pretty easily, only because Eren had the power of the Warhammer, which, like I said before, if given to anyone else, would make no difference, as that Titan is just so OP, and in the hands of Eren, he is literally unmatched. Next up on our list, we have the best girl of Marley herself, Pieck Finger. Pieck is highly intelligent, and her physical capabilities are nothing to scoff at either. Pieck is the inheritor of the Car Titan, and is pretty similar to the Jaw Titan, but just not as offensive, due to the Titan having little to no protection and is mostly used with a team of individuals. Pieck, when fully equipped with artillery and the team functioning the equipment attached to her Titan, is a formidable opponent to face off against. She's shown taking on several scouts, although she's no match for Thunder Spears, she has little to no durability and has the slowest healing out of every shifter, although she's able to maintain her Titan form longer than any other shifter, going as long as 2 months in her Titan form. Her real feats come from her ability to scout an area in her Titan form, gather information, and infiltrate. She is by far the smartest of the warriors and is only impeded by her caring nature, as she was always suspecting Zeke of not being loyal, but due to her care for her comrades, she looked past it and continued working with him for years, never saying anything to the Marleyan military about her suspicions. She is also able to manipulate situations to her advantage, as she was able to talk her way into joining Eren for a few minutes, all in an effort to expose his position and retrieve the Founding Titan. Unfortunately, Pieck suffers from her Titan not really being combative, but had she had any other Titan, I may have even put her above my next entry on the list. Next up on the list, we have the Queen of Solitude herself, Annie Leonhart. During the Paradis mission, Annie was single-handedly cornering the scouts, literally lone wolf style, as Bertholdt and Reiner couldn't help much. She pretty much was a one-man army, and almost captures Eren on numerous occasions, only being stopped by the brilliant late Commander Erwin Smith and humanity's strongest soldier Levi Ackerman. She defeated several highly skilled scouts and defeated Eren a number of times. Her hand-to-hand combat ability is unmatched, and she maintains this throughout the entirety of the story, and it translates over to her Titan form to a devastating degree. Her Titan is very similar to the Attack Titan with how basic it is, aside from the fact that she has many attributes from other Titans as well. She's able to summon pure Titans with her Scream, although she can't control them like Zeke. She's able to use her Titan Hardening, and let me tell you, the way she uses it is very creative for a person who doesn't have the Warhammer Titan. I can only imagine what she will be capable of if she did have it. She's also able to encase herself in Hardening, exactly like Lara Tybur, but she's unable to remain completely conscious while in this state. Her agility and maneuverability in her Titan form may in fact be the best aside from the Jaw Titan, as this small size gives her the advantage. I'm confident enough to say that the only reason she was brought down was because she was caught off guard by being figured out, and escape wasn't a possibility due to being surrounded and also being within the innermost wall. More feats that speaks of Annie's intelligence is her info gathering skill, as she was able to get to the most inner wall before becoming an MP and track Kenny Ackerman, although she was almost caught. Being able to escape Kenny, especially at such a young age, is no small feat. She also killed 2 Titans that Hanji managed to capture, so she couldn't figure out more info when it came to the Titans. Also, when using her Titan Scream, she used the Titans that were summoned as a cover to escape the predicament she was in. Annie is no slouch, and she didn't lose because she's a bad shifter. As a matter of fact, she's one of the best shifters we've ever seen. And that says something, as the rest of the shifters that we have to cover are all special either because of the Titans they possess and the blood that flows through their veins, or a mix of the two. But Annie is in the top 5 best shifters, and that spot is well deserved. Now, we're down to the final 4, and these guys are all freaks of nature, and to start us off, I have to give this spot to the Wonder Boy himself, Zeke Jaeger. Like Tom Ksaver, Zeke possesses the Beast Titan. Unlike the Researcher, Zeke's Beast Titan is very devastating in combat. With his devastating throw, he's able to clear land some fleets of enemies if you give him a few rocks. No one stands a chance when faced with such brutality, and that even goes for our late commander Erwin Smith. With Zeke's royal blood, he's able to transform Eldians into Titans and control them if they've ingested his final fluid. He's basically like a mini coordinate. Having royal blood, he's able to unlock the power of the founder and bypass the vow renouncing war, and even crazier, can usurp the power of the founder from the host as if he was the one with the founding Titan inside of him. Zeke's deceitful nature and manipulation skills are so great that he was able to work alongside Marley for years without ever being suspected at all, except for Pieck. Zeke is shown wiping out multiple militaries, whether it was to take down an entire country, Paradis Survey Corps, or the Battle of Fort Slava. He was able to easily defeat Reiner before the Battle of Shiganshina, and was able to easily defeat Reiner again, even with the help of Porco, as they both stood no chance against the barrage of rocks launched at them. Zeke is able to adapt in battle pretty quickly. He was able to pretend like he was defeated by Levi and copy Pieck's fake death by dissipating his Titan transformation. He's unpredictable not only in his actions on the battlefield but outside of it as well. This nature allows him to get the upper hand on any individual who may encounter him, with his only fear and issue he has ever had trouble dealing with being Levi Ackerman. This place fits Zeke Jaeger perfectly. Down to the final 3, and it should be known that every single one of these individuals has wielded the final Titan to his fullest potential. But the weakest among the 3 is surprisingly the regretful king Karl Fritz. Karl Fritz's greatest feat was creating the millions upon millions of colossal Titans that made up the walls of Paradis Island. These Titans, if ever activated, could literally flatten the entire world, but Fritz himself would never dare to use them, as it was just a deterrent to being attacked so that he and his people could live in paradise until the day came when they would be destroyed. Rightfully so, at least in his mind. He was able to manipulate the populace into believing they were the last of humanity, and was the one who put the vow renouncing war into effect, literally hindering every founding Titan user with royal blood after that. Not much is known about his abilities outside of his Titan form, but he was quite literally God to his people, and outside natures dared not attack just because of the threat of the Colossal Titans. Down to the final 2, and here we have none other than the slave herself, Ymir Fritz. Ymir Fritz was the first original founding Titan. Before we get into her Titan feats, let's talk about her human feats first. She was able to withstand several arrows as a young girl and outrun hunters on horseback for a short while. I'm not sure how she had that much durability as a young child, but she must have had a strong will to live, as when she fell inside a giant tree, she connected with the source of all life before drowning, which granted her the power of becoming the first Titan, the true founding Titan. She was also able to intercept a spear that was launched at King Fritz, and would have survived such an injury, but her will to live was at an absolute zero when she realized she was really nothing to King Fritz other than a mere slave. In her Titan form, she was able to conquer nation after nation with unparalleled power. This was all due to King Fritz commanding her to fight for him. Sadly, she had no will of her own, as she saw herself as only a slave. Now, it's only fair to say that Ymir was the one who created the walls, and the millions of Colossal Titans, as she herself is a coordinate. King Fritz was indeed responsible, but the way the founder works is you have to communicate with Ymir in order to make use of the founder's abilities. So maybe it's more right to say they both created the walls and the Titans. Just like she and Eren are both responsible for the rumbling. Knowing this placement here is perfect for our now free Ymir. Number 1 should have been no surprise at all. It goes to our suicidal maniac, Eren Jaeger. Shout out to C Tactics. Eren by the end of the series possessed 3 Titans. The Attack Titan, the Warhammer Titan, and the Founding Titan. Now, as Eren is the main character, there are many things to go over, but to keep it short and sweet, I'll just touch on the main feats of his. Before knowing or even awakening his Titan abilities, Eren got his leg bit off and still has the strength and willpower to hold the Titan's mouth open to save Armin. His strength eventually gave out and his arm got bitten off as well. We know Eren was fearless as well. He fought Annie and lost time and time again, though he was always able to pick himself back up again and continue. His last skirmish with her, he got completely annihilated but went sort of berserker mode and beat her into submission with the help of Mikasa. During his first battle with Reiner, he was able to quickly gain the upper hand after mimicking Annie's fighting style, and every time he would fight Reiner after that, he pretty much would dominate him every time. Eren was momentarily seen controlling Titans after punching the hand of Dina's pure Titan, although he didn't know what was happening in the moment. During his attack on Liberio, Eren is shown to have unparalleled stamina after transforming 3 times in one battle. Porco even comments on this and says he still has fight in him. He was able to fight and defeat the Warhammer Titan after discovering her secret, and after defeat Reiner and Porco, and this is without the use of the Warhammer's abilities. Eren was able to get close enough to Bertholdt without being burned and defeat his Titan in human form after working with Armin in his plan to defeat him. During Marley's invasion on Paradis, Eren was smart enough to know that their regime was infiltrated as stated by Pieck and that she couldn't kill him, calling her bluff that she would shoot him. Eren was able to manipulate Zeke to get him to awaken the founder, all in an effort to manipulate Grisha into destroying the Reese family. Once back in the paths, he was able to talk Ymir into following his will by giving her a choice. Due to this, she and Eren activated their rumbling and Eren gained control of the founder, releasing all the Titans that lie dormant in the walls. He was able to transform several Eldians into Titans and also summon past Titan shifters. Eren literally wiped out 80% of humanity outside the walls, a feat like no other. Honestly, that alone puts him above every single shifter on this list, but I wanted to touch on his other aspects as well, such as his intelligence and his feats in his human form. But when it comes to his Titan capabilities, he is literally unmatched. Without the use of the founder, he would definitely still be top 5, but he is without a doubt number 1, as he's done things never before seen. Let me know what you guys think of this list, and tell me if you would change any placements. I feel like they're pretty accurate, but I'm interested to see what you all have in mind. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I would really appreciate it as it helps with the channel tremendously, and until next time, I'll see you later.